It's been a while since I've been on here, but I've been so busy, been consecrating with the Lord the beginning of the year, then last year, going through so much different little stuff, little illnesses with the weather change, and just all type of crap. But I'm still here, standing strong by the grace of God. But wanted to come on this morning to talk about the corruption that is happening in God's house, the churches. As I sit back and look at all the news, all the drama, listening to the gossip, listening to all the crap that people engage in that seem to be so fun, so interesting. And we're not supposed to engage in any type of gossip. We're not supposed to engage in anything that is unsettling to God, anything that is dissatisfactory to God. But you're looking at the corruptions in the churches. So much corruption has occurred. So much corruption has been exposed in the places that's supposed to be God's sanctuary. Men and women of God acting just like teenagers and children, bickering and spatting, slandering one another, doing sinful things, engaging themselves in sinful acts and situations. What has happened to God's house? No one seems to have respect for God anymore. No one seems entirely right now to fear God. Everything is being done out of satisfaction to the flesh, satisfaction to thyself, satisfaction to their pride, satisfaction to everything but being acceptable and in alignment with God. You got pastors being caught up in situations now being exposed. And then you got other pastors slandering that pastor and talking about that pastor instead of sending up a prayer for them, sending up encouragement, seeing what they can do to step in and to make things right back in the eyes of God, the eyesight of God, everything exposed unto God. And then you got all this corruption going on. Church leaders, oh, we want to do this, we want to do that. You can't involve the gospel with the world. And God tells us that over and over from time to time in his word. We can't involve ourselves with the world. The acts of the world are sin. The acts of God is all purity, truth, divine, holiness, respect, righteousness. But everybody's so quick to slander one another. Everybody's so quick to do what they want to do. But as leaders, we're supposed to stand together to encourage one another when we see one falling. We're supposed to stand together and encourage one another when we see one has stepped out of the light of Jesus into darkness to bring them and excel them back into that light. But rather, everybody is bickering with one another. Everybody is talking down on one another. Everybody has something to say about what they see going on that another appointee of God is doing. All we can do is pray. Because what's happening is so much bickering and so much slandering. It's just creating more confusion. And guess who's sitting back looking at that? Satan. He enjoying everything he has caused in the disruption of God's house in every church. And I can tell you, I've been in church since a child, since the age of 4. And God has allowed me to see some things. God has allowed me to capture some things. And God's house is collapsing. And when I say God's house, the churches, earthbound churches, because the throne of God will never collapse. I'm talking about earthly bound foundations, where people say this is the church, this is God's house, this is God's foundation. But look what man have done. It's corruption, misbehavior, disobedience, anything that is not clean, an eyesore in the eyesight of God. And God is angry because, especially leaders, when we are appointed and called by God, as they say, that narrow path, that path is narrow, but we got to learn to stand boldly and firmly in obedience unto God. There is much disobedience in which is going on now. Too much control in the churches. Too much somebody stepping on the next person's foot. Too much, oh, I'm just going to say this and say that because I know more than everybody. We don't never know too much. And God going to give us enough knowledge in each and every one of us to use it wisely, not use it as foolery, turning it into foolishness. But everybody is enjoying stepping on each other's foot. Everybody's enjoying slandering. The world is enjoying the gossip in the corruptions of the church. The world is enjoying all the mishaps in the corruption of the church. And then what do many of the spiritual leaders do? They still plan to stand up and entertain the world instead of pleasing God. But I can tell you one thing. God is angry and destruction has only begun. As leaders, we need to come together. Stop putting down one another. Stop talking down on one another. Pray for one another. And that's evangelists, prophets, pastors, ministers, teachers. The fivefold ministry. We got to learn to stand up and fight for one another in holiness. Not coming up against one another. Not letting one of our fellow sisters and brothers fall, get caught up in corruption of Satan, and we just stand there and look at them and have something negative to say. That's not the love of God. If he called you for a reason to be holy. If he called you for a reason to be righteous and truthful in everything that you do. So this is Evangelist Tamala, just coming with that quick word this morning. And I want each and every one of you to be blessed, but really take time to sit back and think what I just focused on. And you all be blessed. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.